Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
Guys who have rejected someone. What's the worst way someone has taken it? Was in New York during Fleet Week. In my dress whites with my group. Waiting to cross the street. Drunk girl comes up to me. Grabs me and says she's always wanted to be with a sailor. I gently stiff arm and let her know I'm happily married. But point out my young single shipmate in the group. She goes back and returns in about a minute after another shot and goes, "But I want you, ooh." Her friends have arrived by this point. She told them I was being mean because I said no. And started crying loudly. Her friends walked towards me and I thought they were going to apologize for embarrassing me in front of so many people. The friends confronted me. "It's her birthday though. Your wife isn't even here. Just be nice. It's just a one-time thing. Come on. Be a man." I was blown away. I was shocked and asked them to leave me alone and don't come to me again for this. I wonder how these young girls think the world works. They have no clue what a marriage means. What responsibilities and duties comes with it.
Parents of Reddit, what are your I looked away for 1 second stories? I was round at my buddy's place. He had kids about 7 and 5. Both super nice kids, nice family. We were sitting in the garden with a beer. The eldest had a foam-covered baseball bat that he'd been hitting foam balls with. Out of nowhere, he calmly walks up behind his dad and takes a full home run swing at his head. Effing clobbers him. This bat is coated in foam but it's still wood beneath it, so it's basically mid-level assault, maybe attempted murder. Dazed, the dad turns round to defend himself, at which point the 5-year-old sees his opportunity and grabs the beer from the table and starts chugging it. Not just drinking it, full-on frat boy chugging it out of nowhere. In the 3 seconds it takes me to recover from the shock and reach across the table to stop him, the kids drank about 2/3 of the bottle. Not much for an adult, but a effing skinful for a kid weighing about 1 stone. Within about 3 seconds, we went from nice family barbecue to concussed adult, domestically abused by a psychopathic 7-year-old, and a wasted 5-year-old. Went real dark real quick.
I'm excited. How tall are you, BTW? If you don't mind me asking. I am as well. It'll be a good time, no problem at all. I am 6 foot. How tall are you? I'm 5 feet 0 inches, ha ha ha. That's good, I like taller guys. I'm not really into short guys, so just making sure. So where were you thinking of going for dinner? That seems kind of shallow, no? But who am I to judge because I'm not really into short girls and like taller girls. I think it's best that we don't go out to dinner anymore. Best of luck on your tall guy search. Are you freaking kidding me? Today, I effed up by obliterating my wife's fish. Happened last night. My wife's 8-year-old very large goldfish was passing away. Had dropsy, was suffering and was on the verge of death. My wife and I looked into the symptoms, and there was practically no hope of him making a recovery, so she asked me to euthanize him. Looking into methods, it seemed pretty agreed upon that the most effective and quick way to euthanize a fish was blunt force trauma. Now, when I was a kid, my family were huge anglers, and I was designated as the fish killer when it was time to cook them. Back then, I was told to slam them on the ground as hard as I could. Well, my 8-year-old body wasn't strong enough to kill them instantaneously, so I had to do it multiple times. Honestly, it kind of fucked me up a little. Flash forward to last night, I didn't want that happening again, and I wanted it to be painless. I asked my wife to leave the room because she was very upset, and I chose to do the deed by putting the fish in a plastic grocery bag and slamming it on the counter as hard as I possibly could. The poor fish was absolutely obliterated. The force ripped open the bag and sprayed bits of what used to be a goldfish in every direction. Told my wife to stay upstairs and she started getting suspicious, so she comes down after 5 minutes and it's just everywhere still. On the counter, on the stove, on the fridge, on the freaking Christmas tree we still have up. I was still finding pieces of it this morning. Wife was aghast and traumatized. Cried until she went to bed.
Made you laugh the hardest in your entire life. I nearly lost my mind laughing at my buddy's bachelor party, late at night, sitting at a table after much drinking. One of his friends, who is a lawyer, shared a theory that he'd heard. All foods can be categorized into 4 groups: sandwich, salad, soup, or ravioli. In other words, by this definition, a taco would be a sandwich whereas a calzone or a Pop-Tart would be classified as a ravioli. This is obviously a ridiculous position, but most of us were used to this guy's nonsense. However, one of the other guys at the table is from New York and took issue with this. He had never met the lawyer before this weekend. Things started getting heated. The more upset at these categories the guy from New York became, the more the lawyer doubled down and gave increasingly preposterous explanations and logic. What about spaghetti, you fucker? Clearly a salad, it's tossed ingredients with a dressing. Meanwhile, the rest of us were starting to lose it at how upset the New Yorker was getting. It culminated in the guy from New York standing up out of his chair, slamming his hands against the table and passionately screaming, "Pizza is not a fucking sandwich, goddammit," while the rest of us were crying laughing. Good times.
Generally calm people of Reddit, what made you lose your absolute shit that time? My 7th effing trip to the DMV when trying to reinstate my license. Every single time they scrutinized my paperwork and always managed to find something wrong and would send me away to fix it. On this 7th trip they finally resorted to, you have no proof that you ever had a license, despite my piles of paperwork showing my driving record among other things. I refused to leave the seat and said, you people are effing monsters. A manager was called. We argued. He said he believed that I had had a license but there was just no proof and he couldn't risk accepting my paperwork in case someone checked it. I said I refused to leave the seat until I knew exactly what was needed. Manager said, tell you what, I can contact last state I lived in and could get a verification that I had had a license there. It would take 3 minutes. That's when I yelled in the DMV, why wasn't that the first effing thing you said? Anyway, I got my license back. In your opinion, who is the biggest psychopath of all time and why? Oscar Dirlevanger. The guy managed to get fired from a concentration camp for mistreatment of prisoners. Jim Jones ordered a mass murder that claimed the lives of 909 commune members, 304 of them children. Ed Kemper. He his mother's severed head. Jeffrey Dahmer fucker injected hydrochloric acid into a little boy's brain and kept him alive for a day or something. He injected another dose into his brain again and the kid died. This is just one of his 17 murders. Albert Fish. He was a serial killer who would kidnap children, torture them, molest them, kill them afterwards and send letters to their parents describing how they tasted. Not a nice guy. 010. Sister permanently crippled me and everybody wants me to forgive her. When I was 16, my parents asked my older sister to give me a ride home from school because they were too busy. They didn't know that she'd been drinking. Miraculously, she managed to make it to the school and pick me up, only to get into an accident at a nearby intersection. My sister, who chose to drink and drive, got away with minor cuts and bruises. My right leg took the majority of the impact. I am incredibly lucky that the doctors did everything that they could, but the damage was too severe. I walk with a cane now. I experience debilitating pain every day of my life. I will never be able to walk normally ever again. 5 years have passed and I still get anxiety in cars. My sister has bettered herself, gotten sober, and good for her, but everybody expects me to forgive her and I can't. They say that she's better now. They say that I can't hold a grudge forever. They say that she's genuinely sorry. They say that I can't dangle my anger at her overhead head for the rest of her life. If she would have told our parents no that day, told them that she'd been drinking, they would have said okay and figured something else out. My sister took the risk and I'm paying the price. I'm 22 years old and I walk with a cane. I can't even stand for long periods of time. I can't forgive her. A part of me hates her. Another part of me just wants to pretend that she doesn't exist at all. Fuck forgiveness. No AA meetings will give me the use of my leg back. Father. What? Are you serious right now? We broke up over a year ago. Why did I just find out you still play chess on Messenger with my dad? Stop. Might have lost the queen, but that doesn't mean I have to lose the king. When I was in high school I purposely got my girlfriend, now wife, pregnant. We were 17 and in love when our son was born. We had practiced safe intercourse and she was on birth control and we used willy wrappers. I quit school to work at the steel mill with my dad and provide for my family. At 18 I asked her to marry me and she said yes, and we've been together ever since, 12 years ago now, and have 3 children together. But what she didn't know until recently is that I poked a hole in the willy wrapper. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever met and I wanted to be with her forever, and in my screwed up teenage head, poking a hole in the willy wrapper was the way to ensure she'd be in my life forever. Years later I realized how shitty that was, especially since it worked, so I told her the truth. She laughed and said, I wasn't ever on birth control. I lied. Then we both laughed. I guess we trapped each other and we're both shitty people. God, I love her.
Say love is blind. What other emotions have disabilities? Anger is deaf, you can't listen to reason. Extreme sadness is mute. Pride is tasteless. Arousal has extremely poor impulse control. Lust has Alzheimer's. Justice is also blind, but she can smell your fear. Hunger has Tourette syndrome. Fear is dyslexic and bored has ADHD. Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Fear is paralyzing. Misery loves company and I have social anxiety.
Were invented for men, not women. It's impossible for a woman to wear pants, jeans, yoga pants, dress pants, leggings, dungarees, etc., without sexualizing her body, since they highlight her legs, curves, and rear end. Women who want to be modest should not own pants at all. That's a lot of words to say. I've never been on a date.
What's the most refreshing act of I don't give a fuck that you've ever witnessed? In high school a friend of mine got piss-loaded drunk. I mean, it's a miracle he didn't end up in the hospital. And he didn't have a drive home from the party, so what does he do? He calls the police and says, yeah, there's some drunk fucker walking up 3rd Street yelling, and what does he do then? Walks up 3rd Street till they pick him up and drive him to his mother's house. Watched a man get half tripped up by an elderly woman while rounding a corner. He dropped his drumstick, ice cream, cone as this happened. He looked at the woman who was apologizing profusely, stared for a few seconds, then pulled another drumstick from his pocket. He then carried on without saying a word to anybody. I was at the gym recently and overheard a guy talking on the phone to someone who I presume was his wife. The conversation went something like this. I just need another 10 or 15 minutes to finish up, just another 10 or 15 minutes, just another 10 or 15 minutes, just another 10 or 15 minutes, just another, okay fine, I'm leaving now. He then hung up and spent the next 10 to 15 minutes finishing up his routine.
Hey, I messed up by getting showerhead. I, 31F, was having a shower and my husband, 34M, decided to join. Although it's normal for us to shower together, we have to share a standing shower with minimal space so it can get pretty cramped. Things started getting a little steamy, and not just because the hot water. I decided to kneel down and give him head. I'll spare the details because I'm definitely not an erotic writer, sorry. We finished and he reached around me for a hug with a smile on his face, and then whispered, I'm going to pass out in my ear. In the seconds before the next series of events, my first thought was that he was joking. Then his head hit my shoulder and I was left with a 6 feet 3 inches man's full weight in my arms. The shower is wet, everything is slippery, and the next thing I know is the weight of both of our bodies crashing into the shower door, which opened, and out spilled my naked body. I look over, my hand is still supporting my husband's head whose body is slumped inside the too tiny shower. His eyes flutter open, realizing that he is on the floor of the shower and his wife is laying halfway outside of it. We both immediately get to each other and repeatedly ask, are you okay? I'm okay, are you okay? Thankfully, neither one of us were really hurt. My husband bit his lip and I have a giant purple bruise across my butt cheek where I landed. He said he remembers having a long dream, even though he was only out for a few seconds. He compares it to when you're about to die and you see your life flash before your eyes.
You literally almost sucked the life out of him. A sign of extremely low intelligence. People who confuse their opinions with facts. Inability to take new information on board and change your position on subjects. Holding strong opinions yet having no ability to explain, defend or justify them. Making strong opinions on topics you don't understand. Talking louder over someone to win an argument. People incapable of independent thinking and being unable to solve small problems by themselves. Difficulty with nuance. All situations are black and white. Difficulty understanding analogies. Using anecdotes in an argument as if they prove something. Being a Reddit mod.
Ask all my friends to wear red to my wedding? So my husband and my cousins hooked up before I met him 8 years ago. They met at a party and they hooked up that night, but he wasn't interested in anything more, so he told her it's not gonna happen. A couple of months later I met him and we started dating. A year later we made it official. My cousin recognized him from that night and demanded that I would break up with him because it was gross. And honestly I did think it was gross at first, but the damage was already done. I was in love with him, so I basically chose him. She was one of my closest friends, and while we get along okay now, we're not as close as we used to be because she thinks I'm gross. I got married a few weeks ago. In the months leading to my wedding, my cousin made it clear that she's gonna wear a red dress. A red dress means that she's slept with the groom. At first I thought she was joking, but no. I asked her not to do it because I didn't want gossip in my wedding and a reminder that I'm gross, but she said that it was the truth. I asked Mom what would happen if I didn't invite my cousin, and she said it would mean a lot of drama with the family, a war. So I simply asked my sisters, my closest friends and my 3 bridesmaids to wear red. I asked everyone to keep it a secret because honestly, I didn't want my cousin to have time to find another way to make drama. All in all, about 17 girls and many of their significant others also had different shades of red. The girls were stunningly beautiful and their significant others very handsome. My cousin was shocked and livid because she thought she would be the only one wearing red. She sulked the whole ceremony and left early. Today I got an email from my aunt that I'm a B for hurting my cousin by first stealing her man and now being petty on my wedding day. I don't agree. I'm happy nobody ruined my wedding and I'm thankful for my girls who rose up to the occasion. I love you.